since week 3 for the Lions, the longest win streak in franchise history. They're the first team out of the NFC to clinch a playoff berth this season. It's also the first time the Lions made the playoffs in consecutive years since a 3-year stretch from 1993 to 1995. We get to bring in Damien Woody now. My mind is sort of just stuck on that 4th and inches play where they could have just, the Lions, they could have just kicked the field goal and said they run the risk of exactly what happens. Like, what would have happened if Jared Goff had dropped the ball and fumbled it in Green? Like, so many things could have gone wrong, but that's sort of what this Lions team does.
Well, first of all, Nicole, if I didn't know any better, it sounded like you were a Green Bay Packers fan.
No, I'm not from Wausau, Wisconsin. What are you talking about?
Very perceptive.
And, you know, I'm watching that 4th down, and the first thing I'm like, Dan Campbell is a psycho.
Yeah.
He's a psycho, but he's a great type of psycho because he always does these type of things. He goes for it on 4th down on the plus side of the field. When he's backed up, it doesn't matter. And in that moment in time, he knew he had trust in his guys. Like, when you have arguably the best offensive line and the best backfield in football, that's what you do.
Yeah, but
you trust those guys to do that.
Here's the thing. He did that on 3rd down, the same exact play, same side to David Montgomery, and it got snuffed.
Yeah.
He went for it on 4th and 1 at his own 30. It got snuffed.
Yeah.
He's playing some sort of chess that I don't understand because obviously he's trying to burn out the clock and just have a kick to win it. But, boy, it feels just almost reckless. That did feel reckless. It just seems crazy.
That's Dan Campbell. That's what you call a coach that has complete confidence in his guys. It's when you empower your players in that moment. I remember vividly when I was playing, there would be times when coaches like, okay, what do you guys want to do? And we tell the coach, yeah, we're going to go for it. And the coach puts it on the players to go out there and execute in that moment. That's exactly what Dan Campbell did in that moment right there.
Can we just live in a world where I realized it worked out? I realized it went the way that they wanted it to. But, like, can we live in a world for a second where it didn't? And now the fallout is what?
Nothing. I mean, they're nothing because Dan Campbell has been known to do this like his whole coaching career, where he's gone for it when he's backed up. Yeah. He's gone for it in these type of situations. Like, that really shouldn't even surprise anyone that Dan Campbell went for it on 4th
push the
down.
envelope so far. Nick Sirianni does the same thing.
Yes.
They're from this school where you do anything and it's completely unorthodox, outside the box. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But I don't really recognize the NFL anymore in a lot of these coaching decisions. I really don't.
I just think in this moment, in that particular moment, go get your win. Like, if you make the mistake, like almost happens, like it could have gone 50 million ways sideways. You're not going to clinch the playoff spot. You're going to lose a position to Green Bay. You're going to tighten everything up in the NFC.
It worked. It worked.
That's a Green Bay fan.
No, that is not a Green Bay fan. That is me looking at Dan Campbell and realizing what he has built in Detroit the last couple of years. And yes, he's empowered his players and he's gone out there and he has built a team and a culture that they obviously believe in him to do that. But that almost went south. All you had to do was kick it.
Almost.
Yeah. Okay,
almost.
fine.
You know, like I said, Dan Campbell he's just a gritty coach. He has the pulse of his players, and he understood in that moment, you know what? We got a chance to ice the game right here. We go ahead and convert this 4th down. The game is over. It's over.
They're winning the
Green Bay has no more timeouts. The game is over.
Last 2 Thursdays, they've won 2 home games against divisional foes by whiskers, by the hair on their chinny chins. What are you seeing with the line? I know they're banged up on defense. Yeah. What are you seeing with that team right now? It doesn't feel like they're peaking, but it feels like they're winning the games they got to win.
You know what? Winners find ways to win football games. It's the same conversation that we've had. That's what I was just about to bring up. The Chiefs. What's wrong with the Chiefs? But all they do is win. That's all they do. They find ways to win. The Lions literally have guys coming in off the street and just going out there and playing games. People don't know how incredibly difficult it is to just find healthy bodies and then just plug them in and say, hey, go out there and play in the biggest game of the year for us. Yeah. And then they just find ways to win.
Jared Goff, once again, throws the ball a lot, does have one interception, but what you see from him now is what?
He's playing like an MVP type player. I mean, I believe Jared Goff was 10 for 10 in the fourth quarter. When the moment is at its peak, he's playing at his best. And so for me, Jared Goff is like the epitome of that Dan Campbell type of football. This is a guy that was obviously cast aside in that whole trade with the Rams, and he's come in and he's built his own identity here in Detroit, and he's playing MVP ball right now. He really is.
By the way, we're living in a parallel universe. These are the Detroit Lions we're talking about, and you said it. They just win. They just win, baby.
That's right.
Which they've just lost forever, and now this Dan Campbell has changed the culture, and the Lions right now basically considered a Super Bowl favorite by many.
If it weren't for the injuries, I think the Lions, to me, would be the clear-cut #1 team. But because of all the injuries on the defensive side of the football, I think the Philadelphia Eagles are going to have something to say about it because they're playing some really good football, and they arguably, from 1 to 53, probably have the best roster in football.
Who's their biggest threat besides Philly? And by the way, we should tell you, we're waiting on Dan Campbell to get to the podium, and I, for one, cannot wait to hear that one. But besides Philly, I mean, if you look at the NFC North, obviously they don't have to play Green Bay again, at least in the regular season, but the NFC North is incredibly tight. Mm-hmm. Who else can challenge them at this point?
I mean, listen, I always say there's the Lions and the Philadelphia Eagles, they're in tier 1, and then everyone else falls underneath that. I think those are the two clear-cut best
Buffalo
teams.
Bills?
Well, listen, I thought we were just talking. Now, Buffalo,
okay.
yeah.
If we're just talking Super Bowl, I mean, who's the Super Bowl favorite?
Oh,
right now?
Listen, if I had to, who's the Super Bowl favorite right now? I would probably have to say Philadelphia Eagles.
Okay.
I would give them the slight edge only because, again, the injuries.
The injuries?
The injuries. If it weren't for the injuries, it's the Lions. But the Lions, they just keep finding ways to win ball games. They keep finding ways to win.
All right, let's flip to Green Bay for a second, just to make my mom happy. No, I'm kidding. Let's flip to Green Bay for a second.
Yeah.
They're just sort of there on the cusp. I thought this was, I'm a very, this, I'm an incredibly cynical fan. It drives everyone in my family crazy. This was a better game than I was expecting. It actually lived up to the hype.
Yes.
What did we learn about Green Bay tonight?
Green Bay can play with anyone. They can score with anyone. I mean, obviously, listen, when you're playing against a team like the Lions, everything's going to be tight. And when you go back and look at the game, you look at the Christian Watson turnover. It's one or two plays here literally determine the outcome of the game. This Green Bay team can go out there and play with anyone. We saw in the first half how the Detroit Lions, they got after Jordan Love. Second half, different guy, different cat, showing you the type of player that he is. But again, the Lions, at the end of the day, just made a couple more plays to pull this game out.
So what is what? It's those couple plays, but it's a couple plays this game, it's a couple plays that game. What's keeping them from getting past that couple play hump?
It's all about execution. Always the game of football is situational. It's always in those critical moments. Can you make the play? Can you make those plays? Team like Detroit, they make those critical plays in the critical situations. Green Bay, very good team. But can you make those critical plays at the critical juncture? To me, that is the difference. That's the difference when you're talking about, being 9-4 and being 12-1 like the Detroit Lions are right now.